Hi, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter from Sports Illustrated's Fan Nation Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast. It's great to be with you. We're literally just a few moments ago, the Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl here at Allegiant Stadium against the San Francisco 49ers. Several things I want to talk about as I recap this game for you. And it's not really a recap of the game per se. I need to rephrase that. It is a recap of the game, but it's going to be reasons I think there should be great optimism among Raider Nation as we sit here tonight. A couple of things I want to point out to you. The Raiders went into Kansas City on Christmas Day and thumped the Super Bowl champions. In fact, the last game they lost was to the Raiders at home on Christmas Day. Now, that clearly tells you this is not a team in rebuild. Now, all the credit in the world to Patrick Mahomes. I think he's the best quarterback in the National Football League. I do. That being said, I don't think that they're insurmountable in the least bit. There's nothing I've seen to them that's like, ain't nobody gonna beat them for a while. Then you flip to the 49ers, who the Raiders did joint practices this year before AP. And forget the game, but in the joint practices, when you saw Trent Williams going one-on-one with Max Crosby, and you saw the Raiders thump them very good. I mean, they won the game, but I'm not counting the preseason game, but I am going to count about the joint practices. You saw the Raiders thump them pretty good. There were a lot of reasons to come away from this game tonight. Clearly, if you're a Raider fan, you're not happy it's at your stadium, your two biggest rivals, yada, yada, yada. I get all of that. That makes complete sense to me. But you also want to come away with, this isn't the same Raider team. This is a Raider team that went 3-1 against, the AFC West under AP. This is a Raider team that's going to get better. This is a Raider team that is going to, have the OTAs, the mini camps, training camps to prepare with a new scheme. This is a team that's going to be more competitive because they're going to be significant. They're going to be go after this offseason hard. So there's a lot of reasons for you to be excited. And so as we close the 2023 season, I know we're sitting here in February of 24, but we just closed the 23 season. I want to give you 5 key things that I think should give every member of Raider Nation optimism. Now, my job is not to be a cheerleader, and I'm not. But there are 5 succinct things that I think is very important for this franchise. Number one, this is a team now that's gone back to its roots. This is a team that plays smash mouth football. And one of the reasons why that's good is you may beat the Raiders, but you're going to feel it. It's going to be physical. You're going to have to want to play a physical brand of football. And you got to be able to dish it, and you got to be able to take it. The Chiefs wanted nothing to do with that against the Raiders. None. And they lost. Tonight, the San Francisco 49ers beat themselves. I'm not trying to be cute, and I'm not trying to be fancy, but you saw a more physical San Francisco team on both sides of the ball. And you saw them, the Chiefs didn't want anything to do with it. But the 49ers kept making ridiculous mistakes that kept Kansas City in it. Now, you've heard me say this many, many times. Teams aren't good enough to go beat another team in the NFL and have to beat themselves with penalties and stupid mistakes. So the first thing is a return to your roots, physicality. Second, disciplined. You saw tonight San Francisco cost themselves a football game because of lack of discipline. That is not how the Raiders played in 9 games with AP. That should encourage you. In fact, at one point I wanted to tweet out San Francisco's playing like the old Las Vegas Raiders, not the AP version. Sloppy, turnovers, mistakes. I mean, start out first drive of the game, they were driving down the field to score and fumble, put the ball on the ground. Can't do that. Multiple mistakes. So the first one is they're back to their roots of physicality. Number 2, discipline. Number 3, even with all of these things that the Raiders have done to improve, there's going to be free agents and draft picks, and the Raiders will be better next year as a roster. That's a big deal. That's a humongous deal. And you've watched the 2 teams that just played in the Super Bowl this year. The Raiders smacked them both. Now, they had a huge lead on the Chiefs the first time, gave it up. I think it was 14-0. Then you saw them the second time, beat them on Christmas. And you saw for 3 days in joint practices, they whooped them. Now, they whooped them again in the preseason. I don't count that game. But they did in the practices when everybody was playing. So when you see a return to physicality, and then you see a return to discipline, not a return, but a maintaining discipline, that should encourage you. And the third one is you're going to see an improved roster. That is a big deal. The fourth thing that you're going to see is a significantly improved coaching staff. That is a big deal. There was just some, and not a lot, but there was some bad coaching on this Raider team. And that's been swept away. You're going to see improved coaching. Physicality, discipline, improved roster, improved coaching. But I want to get to the fifth one. And the fifth one is really important. As this game went on, you could sense as San Francisco was not putting their foot on the throat of Kansas City and letting them stick around, you begin to watch San Francisco panic and press a little bit. And you saw Kansas City begin to laugh, not laugh disrespectfully, but laugh and kind of like, all right, been here, done that. Been here, done that. Now, the fifth, and this is the biggest thing. You watched that San Francisco team get tight and panic. The Chiefs got confidence the longer they stuck around. And what happened? They won. Now follow me for a minute because this is super big. Tom Izzo, the Hall of Fame coach, college basketball coach, once told me the hardest part about winning a title is getting your guys to learn how to win. Most NFL games are close into the fourth quarter. The Raiders found a way. They found a way to learn how to win some games this year. They lost some too. But next year, they're going to come in with a confidence. Now, you've heard me say this before. You can't have faith without hope, but hope isn't faith. Because faith is the substance of things hoped for. And you saw the Raiders this year lose some games. earlier in the tenure of AP that I think they would have won at the end of the tenure as an interim, because they were playing with hope, but not confidence. You saw it in the first Kansas City game. There was hope. 14-0. There wasn't the confidence. This team has a little bit of swag now. They're going to come into 2024 expecting to win. They're coming in no longer hoping to win. They're in the faith realm. We're going to win. The breaks are going to go our way. It's going to happen to us. That should encourage all of you who are Raider fans. That should thrill you. That should take you into the proverbial moon and back. That we're in a place now where we expect to win. And that's the mindset. Not me, that's them. They're in that. I mean, I told you earlier this week when Max was asked who you're rooting for. He goes, Chiefs, because I want to take them down. I want to take them down. And that collective, the physicality, the discipline, better roster, better coaching, and now performing at a level of faith, monstrous. I want you to point out something. I'm not friends with Travis Kelce, but I have a relationship to him. As many of you know, Butch Jones, my dear friend's been on this podcast a couple of times, was his coach at Cincinnati. And so I know Travis through Butch, not claiming friendship, but I know him. I've always liked him. Okay. But you saw him on Christmas throw a helmet. Earlier tonight, or when you're watching this yesterday, you saw him bump into Andy Reid and nearly knock him over in a fit of rage. That's panic. And the more they win, the pressure. Now, I'm going to go back to Tom Izzo again. Nobody in his tenure as a coach has been to more Final Fours than him, including Krzyzewski. And Tom told me a story once. He was talking to a very respected coach who had really started winning. And he said to him, the only thing harder than learning how to win is learning how to stay a winner. Because this guy had sought Izzo out for some advice. And he said, because the more you win, the higher the standard. And what used to be acceptable is no longer acceptable, and people aren't happy now. You know, he says people used to be happy at Michigan State if you got to the tournament. Then they used to be happy if you went to a Final Four. Now at Michigan State, with all of his success, if you're not winning titles, he's taking grief every year. There's going to be a ton of pressure. And when I was sitting there tonight in the stadium watching Travis Kelce talk about going for a three-peat, I thought, wow. I'd already saw him be out of control with Andy Reid. That was just completely unacceptable. I'm sorry, you just don't do that. I don't care if your coach is a complete loser, which Andy Reid isn't. But you're up there putting yourself on, okay, we're three-peat. Okay. Love the bravado. But guess what, Travis Kelce? We've watched you twice under pressure act the fool. I think they are throwing pressure on themselves. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not a fan of any team. I will be stunned. No, stunned is not the right word, but I will be shocked if Kansas City wins it next year. Now, listen, you can't count them out because to be the man, you got to beat the man. I accept that. They're the world champions. They found a way this year after playing terribly to get their act together. That's a lot of Andy Reid and a lot of Patrick Mahomes and a lot of that defense. But there's going to be so much pressure. And Travis Kelce, man, he was throwing the dirt on him tonight. I could not believe my ears. Couldn't believe it. And there's going to be a lot of pressure on them. No pressure on the Chargers. Year one, no pressure. Denver, going to have a new quarterback, especially if it's a rookie, no pressure. Raiders, no pressure at all. Outside of Raider Nation, nobody has any expectations for them. It's going to be interesting. I think there's a lot of reasons, Raider Nation, for you to be excited. A lot of them. Tonight, the Chiefs won with defense, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. But they really didn't win. San Francisco lost. Now wait a minute. Before anyone, and it doesn't matter if I say before because somebody's going to flame. But I need to make this clear. If I'm Kansas City, I'm not giving back the Lombardi. You won it fair and square. But is there anybody who watched that game that it's above fandom that would say, I think San Francisco cost themselves the game? That's 100% what I believe. And Travis up there running his mouth and acting the fool in the second quarter when things weren't going well. A lot of things going on here. A lot. And I think things have set up for 2024. Teed up. Teed up. It's going to be fascinating. It's going to be a great year. I am so privileged to be able to cover this team for all of you. I can't wait to cover this team all off season. I can't wait to cover this team and going through the draft. And man, we are putting up tons of draft prospect articles. Next week, I'm going to be interviewing a kid, a young man that could be a interesting player in this draft. He's going to be joining me on the podcast. We're going to bring on another guy to talk about another potential prospect. We've just got a lot of guests lined up. This is going to be a really busy off season. Super excited about that. To cover this team for you guys every single day, to be bringing you the top-notch quality. Clock's ticking. You heard AP say it this week. The road to the AFC West doesn't have to go through Kansas City. They're not entitled to the title year after year. They're not entitled to the Lombardi year after year. You just watched San Francisco give it to them. And you just saw earlier this year, the Raiders give one to them. Listen, they're the world champions, and until somebody beats them, they're the odds-on favorite, and should be, by the way. But there's cracks in that armor. Remember the old Rocky Balboa fighting in Russia against Ivan Drago. And after all the long butt whooping, he hits Drago and he bleeds. And you hear the announcer say, he's bleeding. The Russian bleeds. He's human. You saw on Christmas Day the throwing of the helmet. You saw at Allegiant Stadium, the Raiders gave him that game. You saw it tonight. Kelce acting the fool. You saw it tonight. San Francisco give him a win. There's cracks in the armor. No. Andy Reid's the best coach in the NFL. I have zero issues with that man. I respect him. I honor him. Patrick Mahomes, great quarterback. Respect him and honor him. A defense is good, but there's still cracks. And AP's coming. AFC West is up for grabs next year, and it doesn't have to go through Kansas City. Ain't no Raider going to kiss the Kansas City ring. They're motivated. They're inspired. They're on a mission. It's going to be a great offseason. Now, listen, please follow me on IG at Hondo SR. Excuse me. Please follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Hondo Carpenter. Go to si.com/NFL/Raiders for all of our articles. Click on the upper right-hand link. You don't want to miss it. Sign up for the newsletter. There's cracks in the armor in Kansas City. I gave you 5 big reasons to be encouraged. The AFC West doesn't have to go through Kansas City. And AP's coming. Have a good night.